welcome to Soul of Seton, a brand new podcast coming to you from Seton Hall Campus Ministry. We're a few episodes in now, and we're starting to cover some really exciting stuff. We got plenty more guests lined up to come on, so make sure you're sharing the links, helping us out, trying to grow the audience so we can keep reaching people with some of this great content. Today, we're talking about continuing our series on creation and science and its relation to the church and how we can engage the society to explain the church's position on some of these very complicated issues. So joining us to help us with that is Father Joseph Laracy. He teaches here at Seton Hall. He's a priest of the Archdiocese of Newark. He works in the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, and he teaches a class here on creation and science. And I think it's vital for us to understand that. So what we're going to do today is he's going to walk us through that class. So Father Joe, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Matthew.
Definitely.
Great to be with you.
So your class, Creation and Science, is that the actual name of the course?
It is. That's the title. Yep.
Now, when we talk about creation, are we talking about, well, I'll let you explain. Does your class go into the creation like the 7-day creation? And then how does that relate to how science understands the formulation of the world? Is that kind of the gist of the
Exactly.
class?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to have a constructive dialogue between biblical cosmology, physical cosmology, and more generally between the Catholic intellectual tradition and different aspects of modern science.
Okay. And when you say cosmology, what for the layman, what does science mean by that, and what does the church mean by that? Are they different?
Well, they're related. They are distinct. So cosmology is from the language. It's the study of the cosmos, the study of the universe, and there are different perspectives on that. Right? There's philosophical cosmology. There's theological. We could say biblical. Then there's physical cosmology. So as a branch of physics, as a discipline within astronomy.
Yeah.
And these are all perspectives and all valid perspectives, we would say, as Catholics, to understanding the world around us.
Okay. And your course, it's not part of the theology department, correct?
Well, it's a cross-listed course, and there are two versions of it. One version is offered for graduate students, for seminarians in the major seminary, this would count as an elective in systematic theology.
Okay.
And then there's an undergraduate version that's cross-listed with undergraduate theology, Catholic studies, and the core curriculum. So undergraduates of any major can take this as juniors to satisfy their junior year core curriculum requirement.
Okay, and then from an apologetics perspective, what do you feel like your course offers as far as maybe deprogramming some of what's out there as far as the animosity against this understanding of religion and science, understanding of how we came to be? There's kind of two very different worlds out there.
Oh, yeah.
How much does your course try to tackle those two differences?
Yeah, well, we approach the question both historically and thematically.
Okay.
From the point of view of history, we look at the great pre-scientists over the last 1,000 years and come to a better appreciation of their contributions to empirical science. We also look at the contributions of the popes, particularly over the last 250 years, to promoting a healthy dialogue between theology and science. And then we address particular topics that are of great interest today and of great importance. Big Bang theory, the theory of evolution, climate science, modern psychological theories of the human person.
Well, that's good. Let's take that. Let's take evolution.
Sure.
In like maybe a 2-minute summary.
Yeah.
What do you try to tackle in that particularly in that area?
Yeah. Well, we first try to understand what is the contemporary theory of evolution. I always like to have students read original sources, so they'll read some Darwin, and they'll read some more modern writers, and try to understand, okay, what is the state of the art in terms of how we understand the change that happens, both microevolution and macroevolution of species. And then we see, once that's clear, how really none of the elements of these theories contradict our Catholic faith. One of the areas that sometimes people need clarification is the status of the soul. And the papal magisterium is very helpful there to remind us that the soul is immediately created by God. Souls don't evolve.
Yeah.
But there's no problem with biological matter.
The form evolving, or the form the
Yeah,
body takes.
exactly. And what makes us unique as humans is the fact that we are made in God's image and likeness, and we have this special intellective soul. God has made so many wonderful creatures, the plants and animals, but it's only in the human that he's given that great gift of an eternal intellective soul that allows us to know him and to love him in a very special way, so that we can be with him ultimately forever.
What's the reaction you typically get from your students, like as far as their presuppositions as they come into your course? What seems to be the most common 2 or 3 kind of fallacies?
Well, it depends a lot whether it's the graduate version or the undergraduate. The graduate students are all seminarians or lay students pursuing an MA in theology.
Okay.
So they're coming in with the right instincts and imagination, but they're looking to deepen their knowledge to make them more effective in terms of their evangelization, their teaching, their preaching. The undergraduates come really from all over the place. You have everything from college seminarians to non-Christians, to agnostics, maybe some atheists. Everyone's welcome in the class, and all viewpoints are engaged in a charitable way. The last offering of the course, I had Muslim students, I had one Hindu student, and what we try to do is have a very constructive dialogue to help them to come to understand deeper the Catholic intellectual tradition, the Catholic approach to science. And if they're not coming from that perspective, they can maybe bring their own discipline into dialogue with the Catholic tradition.
And what do in specifics, what do they typically bring up to you as their objections to the church's stance? I mean, or do they come in with the idea that the church is against evolution?
Many would have suspicions that the church is in some sense anti-science, and often these notions are very vague and of course not founded. But what I found is the students usually have a very respectable degree of openness. They want to learn, they want to read, they want to find out.
Maybe they know it's complicated.
Like they do. They appreciate the complexity of these issues. And through the readings, through my lectures, and then the students do their own presentations and research papers that they share with each other. So there's an opportunity for everybody to grow and learn and come to a deeper appreciation of these topics, which can be quite complicated.
Sure. Of the things that you cover in the course, what would you say gets the most reaction from the students as far as what they had previously believed or really want to engage and find out more from you about?
Yeah, I think the Big Bang Theory and the theory of evolution would be the two that there's the most interest about, the most questions. And also, many of them have not had an in-depth introduction to physical cosmology or some of the details of evolution. Maybe they had something in 8th grade or something about evolution. So as young adults now, they wanted to dig their teeth into something more substantial and understand at a more scientific level, what do we say is going on here when we say that species evolve?
Yeah.
So
in regards to evolution, where do you feel like the rhetoric about evolution outside of the religious world, where do you feel like it's gotten too aggressive? Like in what areas has it become? Because as far as I see it, it has become very domineering.
Yeah.
When you have a high school textbook or a middle school textbook that opens up with scientists believe the earth was created, blah blah. It's just like our creed. We believe in one God.
Yeah.
So this is a religious context that they're trying to use this theory. It's still a theory at this point in certain respect. So from the antagonist perspective, from trying to bash religion over the head with science, where do you feel like it's become too aggressive and we've lost kind of course of the actual science of what's going on?
Well, you point to an issue which I guess I would call scientific or philosophical materialism.
Okay.
These people that would deny the possibility of the supernatural, they would deny the existence of the soul. that we're just some collection of atoms, and they have a very restricted view of human reason and of human inquiry, and knowledge. What can we know, and what can we know with some degree of certitude? And so they're applying all these filters, which in a sense are blinders. They're limiting their vision, we would say,
Yeah.
and trying to take elements of scientific theories like the theory of evolution to build up their own worldview, which is a materialist, often nihilist, secularist perspective. And what I try to help my students to see is that the science is very deep, very beautiful, nothing to be afraid of,
Yeah.
and it certainly doesn't restrict one's view of the cosmos, and view of God, and of the supernatural, and of things that can't be quantified, like human love, right? I mean, the
Sure.
love between a man and a woman in marriage, the love between parents and their children. These are not things that can be measured
Empirically,
or
yeah.
studied empirically, but I think most people agree that they're real, and so we want to make
They
sure.
need to be understood.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're not restricting our reason.